I hope you're ready, because I've got my pot fired up and we're about to begin the first round of the quick tomato sauce that goes with our lasagna. We'll start out with 1/4 of a cup extra virgin olive oil. We'll follow that with 1 yellow onion, finely diced. Next, you'll have 1/4 of a red bell pepper, also finely diced. 1 whole stalk of celery, finely diced. 2 carrots, peeled and finely diced as well. And 3 cloves of garlic, finely chopped. Stir that around. By the way, the temperature is up to about medium to medium high. We're approaching steadily the 10-minute mark, which means it's time for round number 2 of our quick sauce. That means it's time to include 2 tablespoons of a good quality tomato paste and 1 tablespoon of brown sugar. You'll also want to lower your fire down to about a medium, or maybe right under medium, depending on what kind of stove you have. Round 3 begins with a deglazing with about 1 ounce of your favorite red wine. And the second part of round 3 is something that you do during round 2, which is preparing the tomatoes. You take the contents of 4 28-ounce cans of whole peeled tomatoes, put them into a container, a fairly large container, and squash them all by hand to make sure that you know what you have in the way of tomato pureeing. Now, empty those contents, and you're going to go back to high heat on your burner. Cover for about 8 minutes and then start paying attention to it. It should be about up to a boil then, which means you only have about another 5 or 10 minutes to go before you taste it and see if it's where you like it and make some adjustments. About 6 minutes into round 3, you want to add all the rest of your herbs, spices, and seasonings. 3 tablespoons of dried basil, 1/4 of a teaspoon of thyme, 2 teaspoons of rosemary, and that is whole dry rosemary that I crushed. Please do not use 2 teaspoons of rosemary powder, or you will think that I gave you a terrible recipe. 2½ teaspoons of kosher or sea salt, 1 tablespoon of oregano, 1 teaspoon of freshly ground black pepper, 1/4 of a teaspoon of cayenne pepper, and 1 teaspoon of it's dried but crushed marjoram. We'll put the lid back on for 2 or 3 minutes, and then we'll taste it and see where the sauce is and see what sort of personal adjustments we feel like making to it. It's now time for one of the most important and crucial steps of making a tomato sauce, and that is the first taste after seasoning. Because of the complexity of tomatoes and the sharpness from season to season and brand to brand and all those good things, you can't just go on a recipe if you really want to make a magnificent tomato sauce. You can make a decent one from a recipe, but if you're not willing to taste it and tweak it towards the end, it's never going to happen. You're always going to wonder why somebody else has a better one than you. All right, my first taste. This is my favorite part. Hopefully you're doing the same at home. And I'd like to also let you know this is a very bold, alive, vibrant red sauce. It's not a out of the can, cane sugar sweet type red sauce. It's very real. So know that when you taste it so that you don't ruin it for your lasagna. It may need some extra sugar or it may need some sort of herbs, but don't try to make it candy sweet. Okay. For me, mine could use a couple more teaspoons of brown sugar and probably about 1/2 of a teaspoon of salt. To properly make adjustments to your tomato sauce, you should first of all make sure that you do it in small increments. You can't remove it from your sauce once you put it in there. But put it in, put whatever adjustments you feel necessary, unless yours came out perfect, which every now and then happens. And stir it around really well. Set the top on and let that stew together for a few minutes before you taste it again. If you taste it right now, the taste is going to be different than in a few minutes. You need the flavors to really meld to know where you're at. So I caution you, stir it around and try to give it a few minutes if you have the patience. This is the moment of truth. I usually call it correct probably 50% of the time, maybe 60% if I'm lucky, on my first call. So I hope you're doing the same at your house. Or, well, really, I hope you hit it right the first time. And I certainly hope that you hit it right this round. Perfect. This is one of the 60% chances right here. Stick around. In just a little while, we'll be doing the Alfredo sauce for the lasagna as well.